It should be very, very obvious at this point in the crypto cycle, even though we are so early, that DePIN and AI are number one and number two in terms of the top narratives to be invested in this cycle. Matter of fact, if I could go back in time, I would pretty well make most of my portfolio projects that hit those two areas at least once. And so what I'm going to show us today is a combination of altcoins that hit both of these narratives that have yet to see the massive multiples I'm going to show you with one particular altcoin, meaning billions of dollars, 10, 20, 30, 50x is still on the table for these coins. And it is urgent because there's a pretty big announcement happening here very soon. So I want you to be glued in, because if you are someone yet to be exposed here, or if you want to double down on your exposure, this is going to be the video for you. The purpose behind my channel and these sort of videos is not to just give you some sort of altcoins that you can go away with and maybe make an educated decision. I want to actually teach you something new. So if you do learn something new and you do want to support the channel, drop a like on this video. It really does help me out. But importantly, I want you to subscribe so that you can achieve your crypto goals. Now, that important announcement is this: NVIDIA's GTC conference happening in about a week from today's recording date, which is important because the coins I'm going to tell you about today are AI and DePIN based. And what is the reason these coins are so strong and can be so strong? It's infrastructure, which all comes from the chips, especially AI chips, that are built specifically by NVIDIA for, again, these large language models. And NVIDIA also does run, of course, their own GPU market, which is very important as well for not just that, but of running proof of work networks, which DePIN coins technically do, okay? So a lot is happening here, and it is very important to keep up with this because, again, this likely will pump this whole entire market into its own multi-narrative run, okay? AI and DePIN should, roughly speaking, pop off more than they already have been, okay? Now, it's important that one project I mentioned to you that has had billions flow into the last week alone is Near Protocol, because Ilya, the co-founder, is talking on the panel with the CEO of NVIDIA. Now, there's two reasons why it's very important to know this. Number one, it should teach you a valuable lesson. The less coins you have, the better. If you weren't already aware of this and you were invested in your protocol, this might have been a great reason for you to take some profit possibly, okay? Having less coins and knowing more about them day to day is important for this sort of things, especially if this was a blow off top moment. Secondly, it's important to buy altcoins that hit multiple narratives like Near Protocol, which is why I've been pushing it for many years now, okay? It hits so many different things that over the course of the bull run, it'll prop up like it is now. It hit about $8.40 today. A week ago, it was at $4.50. So it gained about $4 billion in market cap in 1 week. And these coins I'll tell you about today, if that happened to one of these coins, or even all of these coins, they'd all like go anywhere between a 10 to a 2x. So it's a lot of money to be invested in one project. So buckle up and get ready. Now, before we get into that, look, guys, the AI and DePIN area right now is so hot, it's similar to the dot-com boom. And the reason because of this is just because it is proliferating right now so fast in the real world that crypto happens 10 times faster, which is just insane. Take, for example, when ChatGPT hit the market, right? It was the first project or company to ever hit 1 million users in such a short period of time it did, 5 days. Of course, we had Threads from Meta launched, but that was, of course, already a large company or multiple companies. So that, of course, was going to have a very, very huge, demand, but it fizzled out, right? ChatGPT, AI, large language models, they are similar to the dot-com boom. Every company wants to get their hands on this in some way, shape, or form, which is why you need to have your eyes on the prize. NVIDIA, also, its stock price in of itself is going up because of the conference, but also because this market is about to go to a whole new level. They reckon in about 12 months from now, we'll have AI to the same level of intelligence as humans. So again, you can only imagine what comes from an industry like crypto here. NVIDIA is up 2x since the start of the year, okay, which is very important to note as well. Now, again, there is a real application for these kinds of projects, which is why they are so important for this particular cycle. If we have a look at DePIN itself, right, it is extremely monopolized right now. Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Amazon Web Service take up like over 65% of the entire market, which is, again, monopolized to the nth degree. It's very, very bad, which means that they can decide to shut you down whenever they so wish to. Now, also, it's not just traditional Web 2 services. Crypto is very centralized itself. If you break a project down, any of your projects, basically apart from the proof of work ones, what are they all built on? All these proof of stake projects, they are built on web services like these three particularly, okay? The nodes might be decentralized and that's all you look at, but if you have a look at what the nodes run on, okay, what runs these computers, it's all based on these sort of services, okay? So crypto is very centralized and it's against the whole philosophy, but it's very, very true. So it's important that we kind of look at DePIN to underpin, no pun intended, crypto as well. And also AI is centralized as well. I don't think I have to tell anyone too much more about this. I'm just showing a screenshot right here of Elon Musk recently tweeted his AI model versus ChatGPT, which is right now a little bit notorious for being quite centralized and censored. And these two results about Bitcoin showed up two very different responses. And it's not just ChatGPT, it's also Gemini, Google, right? All these different ones are coming up, with really weird answers. And that's because they're centralized in terms of the location, right? Where the nodes are themselves or where the data centers are. The sample size is limited to location and also the date. And also the data itself, okay, can be altered for political reasons. They can literally decide to move and chop and change things out of where they pull in the data for the model to learn. And that, of course, creates skewed information. 1 + 1 = 2. Well, that now becomes 1 + 1 = 3 if they want it to, okay? So that's why it can be quite dangerous and a very powerful political tool if it's not decentralized, which is what we're doing here. So anyone seeking AI or DePIN infrastructure has two current options in the real world and in crypto. They can either purchase the required hardware and build their own private infrastructure, which is very expensive, pretty much unfeasible for most, or pay to use infrastructure at cloud providers, such as the three monopolized ones I mentioned to you moments ago. So again, very, very centralized. Now, the 4 projects particularly I'm going to mention today versus the global market cap in terms of their growth, it's a 2x. So these projects are already outperforming the general market, which is a good sign to see. It doesn't mean they're too far gone. If this was like a 7x, then I would be like, okay, maybe fair enough. And if we even kind of compare these 4 projects to 4 other projects, very powerful projects in the same AI and DePIN narratives, these are even beating these by almost 2x, okay? So make no mistake, the projects I'm going to share with you today are undervalued, but they're also not overvalued. There's still a lot of room to grow. Make no mistake, project number 1 on this list is Flux, because Flux is an absolute gem and it's only 20% up from the price I've averaged in at $1. Now, I've been screaming about this since 30 cents. You only have so much capital as a human being to put in the markets, but Flux is still, I believe, very undervalued at $420 million market cap. This project, I believe, is going to rip. Now, I think this is still on the tables, even from this price to a 30x plus, personally speaking, for its all-time high in this cycle. Now, you can pick it up from Binance, which is great, opens up to more people, which is part of the reason why I think it's going to be more accessible in the coming months. Now, you guys need to follow me on Twitter because I recently put an absolute banger thread out on Flux recently, going over everything, and not just Flux, to other projects as well, doing deep dives. You're just going to be more informed if you go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Take this recent thread for Fer Network as well. Go follow me. Link will be down below. You're crazy if you don't. Just be careful of all the scammers. There are plenty of them. With GambleFi picking up steam this crypto bull market, for those of us who may be excited to take advantage of this hot narrative, I've got a new and promising choice for you. Today's video sponsor is set to sting the $260 billion online casino market and separate itself from the rest thanks to its impressive fundamentals. And the best news is it hasn't even launched yet. Scorpion Casino is a regulated and audited virtual casino with over 200 games listed on the website and has been operating already for almost 2 years. The casino has been building itself behind the scenes to finally launch their token, with the pre-sale actually currently underway. So far, they've amassed over 10,000 participants, most of which have been acquired through the years of successful operation, and their network of high-profile YouTubers, sponsorships of iGaming's biggest crypto conference called Sigma, and their partnership with Tencent. So because of this, it's no surprise that Scorpion Casino's reputation is extremely high, and they've managed to raise a whopping $6 million in this ongoing token sale, which of course you can still participate in. You can pick up Scorpion Casino's native token Scorp on their website for currently 4.1 cents at the time of filming, with this increasing for their next round by the time you're likely watching this video. However, they plan to launch on exchanges at only 5 cents, so there's actually still some instant potential upside. Just remember though that if you decide to invest into the pre-sale, you are aware that your tokens will be locked until 10 days after the launch, so don't expect those to be instantly available. So check out the links down below if you did want to do some more research on Scorpion Casino. And with that being said, let's get back to the video. So Flux itself is literally the complete package. It's like Amazon, Google, whatever, literally that, but decentralized. It is a true Web3 cloud. You can run anything on it. Matter of fact, if we go ahead and take the node requirements for what you need to run a node on the NEO protocol, right? A full node itself, like the biggest you can possibly run, okay, the most intensive. This in of itself, well, here's the requirements first of all that I've taken from this, but to run this on AWS, Azure, and others, right, it's about $330 a month. Azure, you can see, is a bit cheaper over here at $180 plus extra for storage. If we were to do this on Flux, it is literally 44 USD or $34 with that 10% discount for using Flux tokens on Flux. Incredible, right? Even for 12 months, it's insane, okay? So you're pretty much getting for 12 months what these companies are asking for 1 month, all right? And this is decentralized, guys, completely decentralized. They run off a proof of work network, okay? And all that extra computational waste that is typically required and, used in a proof of work blockchain, they take that in their coined proof of useful work, which apparently ICP did steal, I've heard. They take this and all that extra computation is then put back into now recently launched AI. They already have 3,600 machines, so running these, equivalent to about 5,787 GPUs. Some insane benchmarks, but not just benchmarks on this. If we have a look at the nodes running on the cloud itself, right, supporting the cloud, they have 103,000 cores, 271 terabytes of RAM, 6 petabytes of SSD, so on. Like, it's just insane, okay? There's a lot of nodes running on this, like 13,000. It's insane. But it's not just that. You can run dedicated websites on Flux, okay? You can run entire nodes on this, again, for whatever you might want to, but they've partnered with WordPress so that people can just simply, any business, any size, can run on Flux, right? Very, very cheap. As you can see here, basic plan, $6 a month, so on. But the partnerships go even deeper. We're talking about NVIDIA. These guys have been in the NVIDIA Inception program for years now, before it was sexy and hot. So they've obviously created a working relationship with NVIDIA. And so I'm not entirely sure of what's to come from this, okay? But in saying that, as a good investor, we're supposed to forecast a possible announcement in the future, so we will see what happens. But make no mistake, it gets even bigger. Lumen Technologies is one of their partners, allowing them to focus on enterprise clients, basically to allow Flux to serve that massive high demand, not just, smaller projects. These guys had about $4 billion in revenue in the previous financial year. And OVH Cloud is the largest or leading, I believe, centralized cloud provider in Europe. So they have expanded to the real world, basically, and have these deep connections to basically enable, enterprise demand as well. So, they're in the works. And yes, while things don't look amazing and so sexy right now, it's a sleeping giant. Now, if you're a DJ, you're going to love this one, right? Because the market cap is so small, yet the project has everything stacked up against it, right? It looks to be a very promising project for this particular set of narratives right now. Yeah, while it's not so much heavily involved with the DePIN side of things, it most definitely is involved with AI. Now, DePIN itself can kind of stretch itself, and you can kind of call projects that aren't really DePIN because it's offering infrastructure, and in that sense, Synesis 1 would technically fit that bill. So what is Synesis? Well, basically, it is a train-to-earn AI project. Basically, we, as what's called builders, go in here and we basically talk to an AI that allows us to provide it answers that it can learn the human language and learn how we interact. And not just that, but also games. You can play games to train on it as well. And it takes all this information and sells it off as actual valuable data, which is invaluable because, as they put ever so elegantly over here, big tech's approach to solving the problem of, well, how is AI really going to learn the language and mannerisms and, little small, you're adding a little Z on the end of a word, for example, or sending a winky face passive aggressively. Like, how is it supposed to know that and learn that? Well, big tech's approach is just simply throw more compute at it and get a larger sample size, and everything will sort itself out. That's what they're kind of saying here. But yeah, their answer to this is interesting, okay? It's to really get the human involved with the learning process, and then, the training side of things, which is really underlooked at, not just on these guys, but it's everything. Everything, the training side of AI is deeply misunderstood. At least that's the general consensus I've so far gained seeing from a lot of these different projects. And their answer, again, is interesting. They say algorithms based on a machine learning approach fall short in natural language understanding, so the ability to determine intent, again, passive-aggressive, anything that we kind of use as colloquial terms, for example. That's because they ignore the logic embedded in human language and rely instead on statistical computations to generate predictive approximations of human interaction or intention. All right. Now, this was interesting. I don't know where I read it from, but I've read it from one of their blogs where they basically said that it's hard enough for humans to really pick up on little cues that we kind of use in everyday life, whether I use a facial expression to show you my, disintent with what you said or my approval with what you said. Well, of course, you don't have that in the case of AI, but you can train it and teach it to learn those things as well. And in games, it's very valuable. Gaming studios are going to, of course, be running AI in everything, because not just in NPC, non-player characters, but also training the best route. For example, a car might need to race, and they can show you that on the app to let you practice. I mean, there's a million use cases here. So these guys are basically taking humans and taking the business on the end of it and saying, hey, does the business want to put up some capital, and we can do a whole sort of train AI to learn sort of model, which was kind of embedded in their video here, right? Companies have their data needs. They might, for example, put up $100 in terms of the SNS token, run a campaign, pull in the necessary people to train their AI, and it goes and distributes to, of course, the different entities associated with Synesis One. All right. Now, I recently picked up some small amount of these tokens because, like I said, the project is very small right now. And while it's just about 10x since a month ago, again, the market cap here is so tiny, and yet the promise of this project is so large. Let me remind you all, with some massive partners here, I think it was worth buying. Well, I actually picked up some small amount of tokens at about 13.5 cents. Okay, so not too far from where we are right now. And so some of these investors are just insane. Like, these are S-tier investors. Kinetic is an S-tier investor. NGC is an S-tier investor. A195 is probably a A to a B tier investor. GBIC is an S tier investor. LD Capital is an S tier investor. D1 is an S tier investor. I mean, they tick all the boxes, all right off the rip. So if you want to go ahead and use this, you can. Right now, you do have to, actually hold the NFT. They do have an NFT side of things as well on their Canon exchange. There's a few different, building blocks to this project. So they're not just hitting AI. They also technically hit gaming as well. Overall, I think this is going to be a great project to get into that hasn't yet taken off to these multi-billion market cap levels. Like if this even goes to a billion market cap or 500 billion market cap, there's a nice juicy 10x there, okay? 70,000 followers, pretty decent engagement for the size of the project. What's not to love? Now, the next project is Fer Network, a Polkadot parachain and also an ERC20 token on Ethereum. And these guys are doing something pretty unique. And while I think it'll go over most people's heads, there is a very big need for this, I believe, in the crypto space. However, it could definitely be phased out over time. So I think this play is specifically for this bull run based on the unique properties of the project. Now, it's made it to this list, not because it's some 50x amazing project, but because it is barely moved from its pretty much lows in the last cycle. It's only a 2x up, and I think most projects in this niche, this is on the low end, okay? So this really is an indication it could be undervalued rather than, oh my God, it hasn't moved, it's a bad coin. You got to get that out of your mind, okay? That's definitely someone who associates good with green, bad with red. So in this case, Fer really makes it to this list because it hits so many different narratives. It basically is the sidekick, or at least the way they market it is the sidekick of smart contracts. You can take all the cumbersome, slow processes you would typically find in a slow network via the smart contracts and it does it all off-chain in a secure way via zero-knowledge proof. So some of the examples they use down here, let me just pick up these. You might have a layer 2, for example, right, where you want to have decentralized validators, or what they call sequences, passing all the transactions. They can do that, right? Decentralize layer 2 sequences off-chain, which is modularity. They can do distributed computing, again, which goes into doing things off-chain, right? Computing things faster. They can get rid of MEV bots. They have a decentralized API to help with things like connecting to the real world. Web3 AI as well. I mean, gateway for CDN, so storage. They can interact from the dApp directly to a storage network, like they mentioned, IPFS, Filecoin, Arweave. It goes on. Really, even validators themselves. So they basically take anything that you want in terms of the crypto stack or the blockchain stack, particularly for dApps, and allow you to do it in a much faster way off-chain. Now, this also can be decentralized, at least in their words, because you can kind of connect multiple of these workers that run their specialized smart contract called their FAT protocol. It's, I don't know, funny name, PHAT. And so you can have multiple of these workers, so different people or nodes running these contracts for the same purpose. So it keeps it live, which means it's not going to, if one closes down, the next or the whole, sort of process isn't going to be screwed. And you can have many, which means it is more decentralized than maybe your protocol currently has. So this is, of course, great. And again, it is going to be really good specifically for this bull run, but the only problem with Phala is their marketing is a bit lackluster. They get very low interactions. I believe it won't take much for them to really come into precedence, but they're going to need a pretty big update for that to really happen. So Phala makes it to this list as one that could be a huge, huge gainer. We're talking about a 30, 40, 50x. It just has to make the right moves very quickly. Now, my fourth pick today is Ocean Protocol. This is a data marketplace, but a private data marketplace where you can collect a whole bunch of data yourself on data sets and then sell it privately, right? Of course, tokenize that and then make some money on it. And someone can buy that off you and then go and train things with it, right? Other AI services. And likewise, they also do a few other things as well, privacy focused. But first and foremost, it is an exchange of large data sets basically for AI. As far as I am aware, they do have a few other things they have built out as well. One of those things is their recently created and very successful Predictor, which is an AI-powered prediction bot where people can go in there and basically bet on what the price is going to be for some crypto assets. Matter of fact, if I open it up, you'll have a pretty good indication of what it's like, and you can go in there and do what you need to do to, of course, make some money on the side. It's had massive amounts of trading volume recently. Matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why Oasis Network have gone ahead and partnered again with them and adopting these guys more. I think actually part of the reason that actually makes that Predictor available was because of this existing partnership between Oasis Network. But that's neither here nor there. I want to kind of touch on specifically where Oasis is quite unique, okay, which is what we haven't really seen before. I mean, we have a cache, we have a few of these other, AI or basically marketplaces for cloud services, but nothing specifically towards this. So modern AI requires vast amounts of training data, as we mentioned before with Synesis 1. That's why that project is particularly very interesting. So basically, Ocean helps with make sure the data that is being uploaded and sold off is as good as it gets in a decentralized and private manner. Ocean Protocol's mission is to develop tools and services that facilitate the emergence of the new data economy. This new economy aims to empower data owners with control, maintain privacy, and so on. Essentially, data is the new oil, right? Data is going to be so useful. I've often called it the digital gold because it is so valuable. I mean, you don't even realize how extremely important the data that you actually give to these websites for free really is. I mean, they buy that stuff for thousands of dollars. You don't even know about it for starters. And it's what they use to train these large language models, which, as Ocean basically points out here, is that this is going to underpin the new global economy. So many businesses are using AI services, and eventually we will interact with AI bots in the real world. If the data is destroyed at creation, if the data is skewed, if the person using the data and uploading the data to these large language models has very bad intentions, it's going to ruin a lot of these things that do come from it down the track. So it's very interesting. Again, Ocean Protocol makes it to this list because while it's the higher market cap in comparison to the other projects, we've seen how hard and fast Near Protocol has pumped multi-billions. And so all it's going to take is a couple of good announcements on this side to really bring this project up to those high billions creating some nice juicy multiples, okay? Will that come with the NVIDIA press conference? I'm not too sure. There's been a few articles I've noted, actually. Matter of fact, I might show you guys this one over here. I noticed while I was doing my research, headed that's, Ocean might be one of the projects that pumps from this conference, but who really knows? I would say take your bets in terms of diversification. Have a little bit of everything in your portfolio. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you have made it this far, let me know down below by dropping a like, and I really look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.